80% of CFOs say the stock market is overvalued. That's according to Deloitte's quarterly survey of Fortune 500 executives out today. Joining me now to talk about it is Steve Gallucci. He is head of Deloitte's North American CFO Program. Steve, always good to see you. So look, 80% of CFOs say the equity markets are overvalued. So what is their expectation for the stock market in 2021? Do they see that valuation pulling back in a big way?
Well, we didn't see that they would be pulling back in a big way. This is a trend that we saw in our third quarter survey, where roughly the same percentage of CFOs that we polled indicated that they thought the stock market was overvalued. Interestingly enough, they feel like the stock market will continue to stay at its levels, probably maybe increase a bit. But over time, I think there's an expectation that the market, if you will, the stock market will align with the real economy.
Did they talk at all about how their views about the stock market may impact business decisions? For instance, how they might look at merger and acquisition opportunities?
Well, not specific to the stock market, but we did ask some questions about whether or not the companies would continue to seek business opportunities in terms of M&A and capital spending. And by all indications, they said the trend would continue. And that really ties to the overall theme of our report, that CFOs are generally optimistic about 2021. Certainly a bit uneven by sector. Those sectors that were hit relatively hard during the pandemic will take a longer time to get out of where they are today. But for the most part, across the board, we saw 70% of our CFOs were generally optimistic about what 2021 looks like, mostly on the back half of 2021.
What about their biggest concerns or worries heading into the new year?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern that everybody has right now continues to be the pandemic and how quickly the vaccine can be distributed, and what impact that would have on the markets. Going in, when we look back at our last couple of surveys, a number of variables that CFOs who generally don't like to eliminate variables in their analysis we're dealing with. Obviously, how could their company respond to the pandemic? What was going to happen with the election? And how long would the pandemic last? Obviously, the election, it being clearer now, and with a vaccine on the horizon, that really is what we think driving these optimistic numbers that we're seeing in our survey.
What about when these CFOs look at their internal budgets? When do they think things might go back to some kind of normal or maybe pre-pandemic levels?
Yeah, again, it's split. There are some CFOs, about 18%, will actually reach pre-pandemic levels in 2020. But a third, for the most part, they will actually reach there in the back half of 2021, and some also into 2022. And again, that gets back to those sectors like retail and services that were hit the hardest. They're having a more challenging time currently.
And when I was looking through this survey, I was a little surprised to see that most of these CFOs are more bullish about China's economy and the recovery there than they are here at home. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, interesting enough, that was a trend that we saw again develop in the third quarter survey. It's the first time in the 10-year plus history that we've been doing the survey that we saw an outlook that was more bullish in China versus North America, specifically the United States. And really, when you step back and look at that, really, again, tied to the pandemic and tied to the ability of the China economy to, first off, it hit first, obviously, in China. But secondly, when you look at how China has dealt with the pandemic, it's caused the economy, obviously, to emerge at a quicker pace. So that really is driving those numbers both in the last quarter and certainly continuing into this quarter.
And look, we have a new administration coming into the White House next year. What did the CFOs tell you about what their wish list is for the new administration? What are they optimistic about?
Yeah, well, in it being the holiday season, there's really three things that we saw on CFO's wish list. First and foremost, 3/4 of CFOs said that there should be a significant investment in infrastructure. In addition to that, about 62% believe that there should be a stimulus package, maybe not something as large and scale as the CARES Act, but something more targeted. And then lastly, also about 3/4 of the CFOs indicated that they would like to see a national strategy for responding to COVID-19. Those were really the top of the wish list, if you will, that we saw from this survey.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Always insightful to get the results of this survey. Steve Gallucci, head of Deloitte's North American CFO Program. Be well.
Thank you, Alexis.